Oof. Have you guys caught your breath yet? Jesus, that was frantic. That was absolutely frantic. Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to AFSCON AFC, the TV show that we have designed by the African Football Scouts and Coaches Association with a view to promoting the presence and performance of Africans in Qatar in the World Cup so far, the journey so far for Africa in Qatar. We'll preview and review our games, and this is brought to you from AFSCON, the African Football Scouts and Coaches Association, an association that is prepared and established to instill credibility, um, integrity, and an identity and respect for the job of scouts and coaches in Africa by Africans. Most of the time, our programs are going to be anchored and co-anchored by our members. Of course, we will have the occasional guest. At the moment, I have got with me um, our ever ready Francis Okufi, from England stroke Nigeria, who is a member of AFSCON. I've also got a guest from Ivory Coast by the name of Victor Emmanuel. He's an expert in the field of African football. Victor, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, and greetings to all.
My able director and member of AFSCON as well, Niran Atobatele, who is a member of AFSCON who has put a really good job together of making this happen on a regular basis. Hello to you, Niran.
I'm fine. Good evening. Very big games. Very lovely games by the African nations over the past few days. I'm excited. We're getting excited now.
Right, yes. And like I said to you, it's a program brought to you by AFSCON. We've got a followership and a membership of about 600 at the moment. Follow us on Twitter on @AFSCON. You can also join AFSCON if you're an aspiring scout, an aspiring coach, or you know anyone who can add value to the job of scouting and coaching in Africa. You can join by just sending a simple email to join@afscon.com. Now then, I did all that intro, just so that people can catch their breath. What have we just seen? Really, Francis? Francis, you're on mute.
Mute.
We've actually seen, sorry about that, we've actually seen Africa emerge finally. The first round of games, or their first games, they drew blanks except Ghana. Second games, we've seen about 7 goals from the African nations. It's something which, in our previous discussions, we've already said it's just a matter of Africa believing in themselves. Ghana, we did say Ghana were going to go far. I think one of our guests did turn around and say, no, he doesn't believe they will, but they've really shown it. Africa is here to stay, and I hope they can actually do a lot more in this tournament and the next one to come.
Well, Africa comes alive in match day 2 of the World Cup. Like Francis said, it was a blank for most of Africa in the first round of games. It was looking really bleak, Niran.
Uh, yes. Honestly, after the first set of games, we were all here lamenting and saying all sorts. Saying that the coaches made wrong decisions, saying this, saying that, which of course is the result of being hurt. Even though some of us are not at the World Cup, we want our continent, to our brothers, to do better. And that emotion was telling when after those first round of games and we didn't get a win. Well, is a lot is far better now, far better, and all unbeaten in the second fixtures so far. I think we've all played. Cameroon has played. Everybody has played. So
Tunisia got beat.
okay, Tunisia. Yeah. So everybody is so we are excited. We're looking forward to what the future holds, and the last round of games. Hopefully we'll have at least. I'm hoping for at least 2 teams in the round of 16 at least.
Victor, you are a debutant on this program. So you have had the opportunity to watch games, the first two round of games for Africa. How do they compare when you watch the first round of games from an African perspective, and then you watch the second round of games? What did you see different?
Um, it feels like African teams came into this tournament saying, okay, we are qualified, which is already something great, as usual. But did they come to conquer? I'm not sure. But after, it's like when you are trying in a box encounter, you try to test your opponent the first round. Then you can say, okay, this guy is strong enough, and these are his advantages, these are his weaknesses. Let me try this way in order to overcome. So that's what they did on the second day, I think. Um, they get more confidence. They came like, okay, we are also here to win, not only to participate. And we all we also noticed that they were like, okay, let's play as we are used to play. Let's not play like, okay, we need to avoid goals from the opponents. We need to you cannot qualify yourself by avoiding uh, goals from your opponents. You need to, to bring a lot of goals in their nets, and that's what they tried to do today. Cameroon, Ghana, and also yesterday the previous teams.
I mean, at the right time, we have been joined by the right person. Our fourth guest on this show is Max Fowl. Max is Senegalese. He's joining us from London. He is the chief executive officer of what you call uh, Future Lions of Senegal. He grooms players to become players of Senegal national team. One of his players, actually, one of Max's players, is the one that took the place of Sadio Mane when Sadio went off injured. It was his player, really. And I'm sure, although he's looking really glum at the moment, I'm sure he's smiling on the inside. Now we're going to kickstart this resurgence of Africa. We're going to kickstart it with the Senegal win against Qatar. And who best to talk about it than Max? Max, what did you see different from the first game against Netherlands to the second game against host Qatar? Now, before you go on, let me tell you some of the comments that I got, from my network of people. Oh, Senegal. Yeah, Senegal's come back to life. No, they didn't come back to life. It was only Qatar. Anybody will beat Qatar, blah, blah, blah. So some people still downplayed the importance of that win. What did you see as a Senegalese?
Well, good afternoon. I'm sorry to be late. As I was watching the Ghana game, very exciting. Like I say, when Africa played, I'm very emotional. So I would like to greet all my colleagues that I meet in the meeting, and also Tunde. I'm very sorry to be a little bit late. Yes. First of all, what I said is I will be saying thank you for Ghana for winning today to make Africa proud. Also Morocco, also even other teams who make little bit their contribution in the World Cup. Yes, as you're seeing, Senegal opened the winning way against Qatar, but it was a not easy game because, like I say, there is no easy game anymore. There is no small team. As you can see, Qatar is a country who organized the World Cup with the support of the public and media and the power of football. There was not easy, but what I learned from that game is the coaching part. Alin Cisse, which is the national team coach of Senegal, has been doing a good sub in this game, which is what we have to learn from the African coaches, which is they have to do the right tactic, the right sub when it's time to sub and everything, and also what you tell the players, like before the game, what did you tell the player to get the message? And I think the player get the message, and that make the changes. That make the Senegal kickoff, which is, if you see our first game against the Netherlands, from the beginning to the 70th of minutes, Senegal do very well. We will just start to get unlucky when the game kick off after the 80th minutes, which is the changes was not the right person that they do. When the subs that come, they don't really do what we were waiting for them to do, which is that make us, the coach, learn from that mistake up to the end of the game, that make us win against Qatar. But remember, football now, there is no more single team. The reason I say there is no more single team is those who are winning and those who are losing, they stay in the same house now. That's why now there is no more a single team, because all of our players, they play in the big leagues in Europe. They play with Messi, Ronaldo, all the big teams. Now there is no single team and there is no single game, because football is one language. I think that's the reason that Senegal is a coaching part again.
Excellent. Now, from the perspective of coaches, Francis,
Yes.
you know, as a coach, that what Max has just said is very important. Very important because, as you know, it's one thing to have this football talent. It's another thing to be able to play the game. But it's yet another thing to have a bunch of players who are prepared to play for you. Ali Usise, did he get it right in that game?
In the first game, 90% right. And I think he knew what he wanted them to do in the first game. The second game, unquestionably, he got it spot on. Senegal have always been, for me, a well-organized team. I think, and I don't want to seem a bit biased, I think compared to many of the African nations, West African nations, they seem to listen to what the coach says and they go out and do it. If I may deviate slightly, with Nigeria, that seems to be our problem. You give them the information, you set out a formation, but they don't tend to follow what they've been told to do. With this one, Ali Cisse got it perfectly spot on. I can only see them go a lot further, to be honest. That as long as you know, as a coach, when you have players, they may be average players, but if you set them out in a certain way, knowing that they will be a threat or be able to nullify the opposition, and they follow such formation, they'll always succeed. And I think with that, the Senegalese, they've done that. We've got over the stage of missing Sadio Mane, and we've moved on. And I think now they're playing not just for the coach, they're playing for themselves, they're playing for the nation, and they're also playing for Sadio Mane. So yes, I think he's got it spot on right now.
You know?
Well, I'm here.
Yeah, go on.
Okay. Concerning Senegal, yes, and the coaching, yeah. Okay. Yes. Francis is 100% spot on. Spot on. Senegal, they knew that they couldn't take any risk for that Qatar game, because when you lose 2 matches in the World Cup, it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. You're 95% out, and in some cases you're already out after 2 matches. So they knew that there was no margin for error, and there was no room to make mistakes. And to be honest, the coach, I think his team came out playing in that manner. Although Qatar had some good moments, better than they played against Ecuador, but at the end of the day, Senegal were too strong for them. Seasoned professionals all over the side, from the attack to the defense, and it was maybe a bit too much for Qatar to deal with. And good, thankfully for them, they have a decent match. The last game, Ecuador, I think 2 teams with similar strength, and And if they do the right things, actually, and Vanessa may be injured, may miss that game, and he's been the star man in that group. So if Senegal can do the right things, they should be able to get the win they did from that game and make it to the round of 16, hopefully.
I don't know if Victor is still with us. If Victor is still with us, we want to talk about Morocco. Victor?
So he's not here. He's not here.
Oh,
He's not here right now.
Okay. So we will go into Morocco because Morocco pulled out all the stops in their last game against Belgium. Who expected that, Max?
Well, I did expect that because you will be back to the coaching part as well. Remember, Morocco was having an issue with the previous coach, which is left, I think, in September, like a couple of months ago. And the one who took over, when he came, what he did first is try to get their best players. Whatever happened with their players, with the previous coach, he doesn't very worried bad much, which is what we need from coach. He went and get Zires from Chelsea and get all their best players. As you can see yesterday after the game, they look like a family. He was kissing them. I think that's part of their culture. He was giving them a hug. He was telling them we are family, and I think that give the motivation to the team to win these games because they were playing for the coach, which is again I can remember in my first talk I was saying our players now, our losing players, they're staying with the winning players. With me, our players are playing in Europe. I think this is the way we have to kick off. Is he our coach are coaching the European teams? If not, why? Why the European teams and American teams are getting coached from everywhere around Europe and even South America, but why not Africans? I don't see any African coach coaching any big teams in Europe or anywhere else, even in Dubai. So that we don't live with them. And which is where that we have to kick off and see why they're winning, what they're telling to their boy. Imagine you can take an African boy, for example, the Cameroonian boy who scored against Cameroon. He just left Cameroon 6 years ago. What the European coach tell him to be a lion, to not be a real African lion? Did us as a coach in Africa don't know how to deliver the message? Or are we not coaching those teams in Europe? That's why we don't know how to motivate our kids. Again, I come back to the Morocco win with their coaches, and the coach just took over a couple of months ago.
My friend Victor, you saw Morocco yesterday. Morocco actually played a game and won against the number 2 nation in world football, Belgium. An array of stars: Eden Hazard, I have run out, the Torgen Hazard, Alderweireld. There's all over the pitch. You know, they had superstars on that pitch. But Morocco had the lion heart. How did they do it against Belgium? I know Max has talked about playing for the coach and making sure that the best players turned up. But then again, there's more to it than that. There's a lot more to it because you're still playing against one of the top nations in the world, and you still need to bring that performance up. What did you see that we probably might not have seen? Victor?
Oh, sorry, my microphone was off. I think there was already a team spirit within Morocco players and a fighting spirit, a long-term construction, especially since the AFCON, I think 2019, where they were led by Hervé Renard, who is now the coach of Saudi Arabia, who had won the AFCON 2012 with Zambia and 2015 with Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, if you want. And so he has set the footprints in this team. And let's not forget that they have some of those players have the habits to play together, but they also have this thirst for victory. You know, they are not, they didn't have success during AFCON, and having this opportunity to be one of the five qualified African teams in this World Cup, which happens to be played in November, where you have some of players play in Europe who have to stop while they are champions, and some of them maybe who were used to the bench. This is the great opportunity to be seen by recruiters. And you also have those who play in the local championship, uh, who, who are most used to play in this period of the year. So when you put all of this together, you can clearly understand that they can do much better than some of the other teams because you know the dates of the Northern African Championship are quite different, and even Sub-Saharan Championships are quite different from Europe Championships. And uh, it's unfortunate that we don't have Egypt in this competition because we just have five places. But it could have been something interesting to see them against Western and Asian nations. So I think this is something to conclude. I will just uh, say, first of all, the fighting spirit which has been built over years. Secondly, the habits to play together for some of these players. Thirdly, the calendar, the agenda of this World Cup. And fourthly, the fact that it's a great opportunity to be seen by recruiters for the players and also for the country or the federation to have something more to add to their history. So this is my understanding of this situation.
I think we have also been joined by Bruno Sonai, who is Swahili, sorry, who is a top journalist from Benin Republic. Now, I bring Bruno in because Bruno is well versed with what goes on in the world of African football as well, especially in the Francophone side. And Bruno knows Morocco inside out, knows all these countries inside out, and can tell us another thing about that Moroccan revival, that Moroccan strength, especially in their local league. The local league in Morocco, how much of a factor is that played in this performance that you saw yesterday, Bruno?
First of all, hello everyone. First of all, we all know that Morocco is one of the countries with the best local league, and I think over the years, Morocco has produced so many players for the national team, and even some of them, when they left the local league, I mean, they were promoted to play in the national team, they came get better clubs, I mean, in European countries. And so far, I think Morocco has built its football over the years on the local league first. And that's how it is when you have a very good local league, which is very competitive with great clubs. You end up having, I mean, national local team like under 23 and all those kind of teams. You end up building very tough teams. And like Victor just said, players who know each other because they've played together before or they've played in the same league before. It builds at a long term it builds a very strong team. And I think today Morocco is, I mean, having results of that. And as you can see, many of the players today who are playing for Morocco, they know a lot about their local league. Some of them pass through the local league. and they built themselves through that, national football. And today, Morocco has shown, like yesterday against Belgium, that even if we are Africans, as African countries, if we build very strong local league, we can end up building very strong and tough national teams to go and even, I mean, be able to beat very strong international team like Morocco, like Belgium, who is today the second, ranked country over the world.
Right, yeah, and to a point that Victor just made earlier on, um, you're right when you say that it gives a chance for some of the players to put themselves in the shop window. I'm rushing to Stamford Bridge now, or to Cobham Training Ground, as a Chelsea fan, to say, keep Hakim Ziyech, because he's much better than what you think he is, because that performance yesterday was wonderful. But now, before I go on, let me spend this opportunity to remind our viewers you're watching the AFCON AFC roundup of the World Cup, Africa in Qatar, which is a program which was designed by the African Football Scouts and Coaches Association with a view to review and preview the African performance and participation in the World Cup in Qatar. AFCON, what are we? We're a body, an association that has been designed and established to give identity, credibility, and respect to high level scouting and coaching in Africa by Africans. We want to take hold of coaching in Africa. We are proud of the five guys that are representing Africa within the World Cup, and we want to develop more of us in that realm. We want to develop a lot more of the continent in that realm, and we believe that we have the content and the quality of coaches and scouts that can actually make that big difference in African football. If you want to join AFCON, if you know anyone who can join, who's got something to offer, join AFCON by just sending an email with your details to join@afcon.com. Join@afcon.com. You can also follow us on Twitter @AFCON, or you can send that email or check us out on our website www.afcon.com. Don't forget, also subscribe to our YouTube channel, AFCON AFC, which is on YouTube. Always do that. Click the subscribe button, click the notification button, because we will be here all the time. Even beyond this World Cup, we will always be here. Now, I'm going to touch on something before we go into the African performance again. Now, the response from Belgium, when the game finished, there was rioting in cities in Belgium because Morocco beat them. Now, I see it in a different way. What is wrong with Belgium? They think that we don't merit beating them. Are they so entitled to the fact that they have to beat Morocco because it's an African nation? Is that not disrespectful to the continent of Africa and to Moroccan football? Nina, what do you think?
When the rumor was going about that Bril Mbolo, his family house was attacked. I know it's a different story. His family was attacked by Cameroonians because he scored against them. I don't know whether the story came out to be false, that it was a Nepal something. So, but in the Belgium one is true. There was a riot, and I told someone about the Cameroon. I said someone said, "Oh, Africans are so disgusting. Why do Africans do this? Why do they go and burn his house because or fight in his house?" Because I told them not an African thing. That I said to them, Africa is over the world. All over the world it happens. And unfortunately, for me to be correct, just a few days after, this Belgium one happened. So I didn't want to prove my point like in that way, but it just shows that I was right in many ways. I don't think is a disrespect to African football. I just think the Belgians felt like this is their last chance to win, maybe in the country, because they've had a very good team. Belgium are not a perennial superpower. For us that started watching football earlier in the days, they are not a perennial superpower. They're just a normal team. But in the last 10, 15 years, they've produced these outstanding talents, the likes of Company, Ventongen, Dembele, Hazard, and Co. And they've not won anything. They've not done anything. They've not even gotten into a final, which is a bit disappointing for a team with their kinds of players. Maybe the fact that the sun is setting on that set of talent that they have, and it's looking like it might never happen. So maybe they're thinking, if we cannot win now, when can we ever win? So maybe that's the frustration that got into them and made them to decide to start burning and scattering everywhere. But I don't think it's a disrespect to African football. At this moment in time, someone said earlier that there are no more minnows in football. There are no small team in football because everybody's playing together. And that was Max. And Max is absolutely correct to say that there is all teams now almost is now in the modern game. That's why you see some teams losing 7-0 the first game and winning the second game. Because in football now, it's just minute details that determines the winner or the loser. Minute details. So no team can be looked at as small things. I don't think the Belgians will have that disrespect to look at African players as small teams because I'm sure they know that African teams have quality. They know that I'm sure they know top African players all over the world. People like Mane, people like Salah, people like True that have retired and co. So they have Thomas Partey and co. They are top African players all over the world. So I don't think anybody will be looking down on the African players. I don't think that's the case. That what caused right. I think it's just anger, frustration, that the fact that that golden generation have not been able to pull through and make a statement on the world stage or on the big stage.
I'll tell you what, they really looked old. There were points in the game against Morocco where they were actually walking, and they had no intensity, and they had no purpose, and they had no promise. So it was a deserved win for Morocco. Matt, before we go into the games of today, I want to touch on one of the games that didn't go well for the Africans, and that was the Tunisia game against Australia. Tunisia, Australia. In my personal opinion, and I may be wrong, and correct me, this is why we've got this open exchange, robust exchange of ideas. If there was any team that was least deserving of qualifying for the World Cup out of the 5, I think it would be Tunisia. I think although they have a good repertoire, they've got good ambience around them, the results getting into the World Cup were not great. They played in the AFCON, not fantastic. They played some warm-up games, not great. The World Cup qualifier final game as well was not fantastic either. And they carried on from there to get to Qatar. Now, when they came to Qatar, they have not actually shone. They have not actually shone. They have not done what we expected of them in this contest. Max, what are your thoughts on Tunisia? Where do they go from here? 1 point from 2 games, and they've got to play France. Can you unmute, Max?
Yes, well, actually, I think with Tunisia, it's going to be very difficult for them to qualify. As you can see, the way they play football. Whoever knows Tunisia, you know Tunisia is a defending team. Even in the African Cup, they are like Greece. They always like defending and never attacking football. And in this modern football now, it's more about attacking and go and get the goals. And they're not showing much about that. I think is the formation. I mean, I've never been to Tunisia. I would like to go and travel there next year and see how the way they do the information about the academies and why most of their players, they're not playing in Europe, because when they were playing against their last game, I checked all of their players, I think, but they're playing local. It's very few of them are playing in the international leagues. So I think Tunisia must change the way of playing football, because football is not only defending. And most, like I said, most of their game, even when they were playing Senegal, I think it was in 2018 in the AFCON, and Senegal beat them 1-0. They were just sitting deep down and waiting for Senegal to attack, and at the end of the day, they end up losing that game. And I think we need more strike, and this is all Africa. We need more striker for attacking goals. But unfortunately, I don't think they're gonna do much in this World Cup. So I think it's something we have to look at it. That's why I say in next year I wanted to travel there and see what's going on with the academies and formation.
Bruno, so Tunisia, it's an interesting one, because you watched France after you watched Tunisia against Australia. You now watch France and how they played. And you're now looking at a game later this week, Tunisia against France. Now, France may come up with a weaker team, but do France actually have a weaker team? Really? What do you think will happen against Tunisia? Does Tunisia you think they're out, but they've got pride to play for? How much pride can they muster to get a result from that game against France?
It will be very difficult because Didier Deschamps, the coach from France, he already said that for the third game against Tunisia, he's going to replace some of his key players and put some of the players from the bench. But when you have a team like France, even the players who are on the bench are always, good players, very good players who can be even in the starting 11 of some other teams. So I think that even if France will go to put their first 11 who will be, players who are coming from the bench, there are still some key players who will remain on the pitch, and it's going to be very difficult for Tunisia. I think that the game against France is coming at not at a good moment, because they have already had a draw against Denmark, and then they lost against their second game against Australia, and the third game which is supposed to be the final for Tunisia. If they want to expect to come for the second round, it will be very difficult, because France is one of the teams which came to play and become the champions, because they are reigning champions, and when you are reigning champions, no game is to be taken lightly. So France is going to play like they were not even qualified. That's teams like France, that's how they play. They are not in to come and play some games with heart and some games with joke. They are not going to joke at all. So France is one of the team with, the best players in the world. And Tunisia is just, like you said, Tunisia is, one of the team. I don't want to say that they don't deserve to play this World Cup, but when you look at the 5 representatives from Africa, Tunisia is the team that could have lost to be, at this World Cup. And as you can see, it's a group that is very, very difficult to come out from. And Tunisia, I think the game against France is going to be a very, very tough game for Tunisia, because France is looking forward to playing their game for the second round. And when it's like that, you don't have to, you don't want to lose your third game at the group stage, because when you lose it, it can psychologically, be bad for you. So it's good for you if you have won your two first game to win the third game before you go for the second round. And that's what France is going to try to do, because when you lose a game, like for instance against Tunisia, when you go for second round, it can, for your confidence, not good at all. So France going to try and beat Tunisia to go for the second round with the fullness of confidence. That's why the game for Tunisia is going to be very, very, very difficult.
Right, thank you. Now, this is AFCON, the African Football Scouts and Coaches Association. We stand for coaches and scouts in Africa by Africans. We are an association that wants to give an identity and credibility to the job of football scouts and football coaches around Africa by Africans. You can follow us on Twitter. You can join us by sending an email to join@afcon.com. We will be here to review and preview the African performance in the World Cup now and in the future. And when the World Cup is over, we will still go around the world and talk about Africans and Africa in competitions in football and how we can raise the profile of coaching. On that note, we'll come to today's games, and I'll go to Francis, an established member of AFCON and a coach. Now, there were two encouraging results where we say Africa has come alive. Africa has come back to life. Africa is back. We're good. We're all right. However, in the game against Serbia, when you look at Cameroon, what manner of defending will have allowed Serbia or 3 goals in that game? Are they not avoidable goals? Tactically.
The goals against Serbia, two of them were actually avoidable. Again, it's something which we've addressed in the past of having self-belief and setting out a formation of what they're expecting you to do. I mean, I sat down and I watched that game, and yes, initially Serbia had the upper hand, and then Cameroon scored a brilliant goal. And then, yes, Serbia equalized, it was 1-0. But the second 2 goals, it was like as if for some reason the Cameroon players had just kind of given up. You know, they just weren't interested anymore. And then all of a sudden, the second half, there was a spark, whatever was said to them. I think actually they said Samuel Eto'o actually left the stand to go down to them and gave them a good ticking off. And as a result of that, they just lit up and they scored 2 quick goals. And my question is, why does it always have to be, an outside interference that has to spark them up? Why can't they just to themselves as players just stand up and go, you know what, we're doing poor here. Let's snap out of it. Okay, we're up 1-0. They've equalized. They've got one. We've got to go back and win this game. As a coach, you expect sometimes where you don't have to go into the dressing room and say something. You just expect the players to be amongst themselves, to sit down and go, lads, we're messing up here. The English guy, sorry to say, and I can't say it on air, would paint the sky blue to tell their mates, you're not doing what you're meant to do. And everyone will get that message, and you find a difference. They'll go back second half and perform. I think the African teams have got to get to that standard where we don't need someone external to say, or we don't need a coach to tell us that we're doing wrong. We need to sort of gear up ourselves and say, look, we're not performing here. Because let's be honest, all 5 nations, they're not just representing their nations, they're representing Africa. And that's one good thing about Africa. When we have one nation playing, we support that whole country. It doesn't matter. I mean, okay, Ghana beat Nigeria, but Ghana losing to Portugal the other day, I felt bad. And today they performed and they almost threw it away again. I think that's just what we really need to do as a coach and as players. They just really need to jug themselves without having an external interference.
Victor, in that game, Cameroon against Serbia, we saw a midfield in a Cameroonian midfield, which always used to be their very strong point. The Cameroonian midfield, especially in that holding role, it fell to pieces for a bit, especially when they saw the 45-minute mark come up, when they thought that it was going to be halftime soon, forgetting that there was a few more minutes to play as injury time. Midfield collapsed. Zamba and Gisa, I've never known him to lose so many balls or to put so many incomplete passes like he did during that game. Victor, what do you think? Where is the Cameroonian strength if we cannot have a midfield that will hold? Knowing full well that they're going up now to play against Brazil.
First of all, just to reassure you, I returned to the news about Bril Embolo mentioned earlier. The house of Bril Embolo's family in Cameroon was not attacked. These are images from another event, and this has been corrected after investigation by fact checkers. Unfortunately, the problem with fake news is that afterwards, the corrected truth does not make as much buzz as the fake news it is supposed to fight. To return to the question, the middle of the team had a hard time because of this tendency to organize at the back. They had good passes, but there was also sometimes lack of understanding among Zambo and Gisa and his teammates. We all know how great player he is um, during this season in Napoli, and he has already a new contract going until 2025, I think. Yes, 2025. But in terms of managing of ball position first, and they had good ball position, but which does not bring good efforts to for the forwards. I have a statistic there. They had made more than 60 passes to the goalkeeper during the first encounter, which is too much. They are not really organized when it comes to press the opponent. When it comes to use also the left side, I think the coordination with Toko Ekambi was a bit weak. Sorry to say. Uh, when you go on the right side, you have a lot of support from Five Collins. Uh, we used to combine, sorry, with Zambo and Gisa, but we still need to see. We don't even know what is the good, uh, the good 11 of Cameroon. Today we have seen another face of this guy Kunde Malo, who was not really brilliant during the first game. And so it still seems like Rigobertson is still trying to find out who is his real, who are his real players. Who is and we also have this goalkeeper who left yesterday, Onana, after something which is still difficult to understand within the team. But so I can say the midfielders are the mirrors of the whole team. They are good players, but there's still something like in terms of coordination. But I can still be happy because this level of game, the fact that they can still combine like 3, 4, 5 consecutive passes, it's something we hadn't seen in the past World Cups. I'm talking about 2010 and 2014. So maybe during the trainings, maybe if they, they get more confidence and also more coordination among the different lines, maybe we can have something much more interesting against Brazil. You can even say the same thing with the attackers. When Abubakar came in, there, he was more altruistic than what we saw before his entrance.
Right. Which brings me to the next point. But that next point goes to Bruno. My question is: it's all right to see the midfield decision making by our technical crew, and the discipline issue of African football. Many a time in the 2010 World Cup, there was a contest about bonuses not being paid, so players not wanting to go for training. 2014, same thing. 2018, we had the same. You know, there must always be drama with our African teams. And the drama this time was with Onana. On the eve of an important game, a must-win game, we go and we evict the goalkeeper. Now, this is not to say whether he should, I'm not here to judge whether he could have been evicted or not. I don't know whether you have the full story of what exactly happened, Bruno, in camp that made Rigobert Song get rid of Onana. Do you?
Well, I honestly I don't have the full story. Maybe Victor could tell us, but I don't have personally the full story of what happened. So I heard like everyone like that Onana was evicted from the squad that was going to play against Serbia. But my point of view about it is that for me, no player is above the team. If you are in the team, you have to act as a team. You cannot be in a team and act lonely. So I don't personally know what really happened, and I don't want to go into facts that I don't really master. But to take like the punishment, if I can, I mean, I put punishment in quotes. That what I have to say is that when you are in a team, no player is above the team. And if you do things that will not help the team, you have to be put aside. It's true, we are in a competition, maybe they were 24 hours before the game, but if what you are doing is not professional, because sometimes you see the problem with our African players, sometimes what they will never do when they are playing their clubs, because over there they have to play hard, or maybe twice or sometimes 3 times to have a place in the starting 11. When they come for the national team, where maybe they are a star, like their place is not something that anyone would discuss with them. Sometimes they think that they are above the team. So I don't know what Onana did, and I don't know what was the problem with Rigobert Song and Onana. But I think that if ever he did something that could not help and that will not help the team, it's normal, and it is good that he has been put aside, because sometimes you have to show players that they have to be disciplined. In the group that is playing a big competition like the World Cup, you have to be disciplined. You have great players like Messi, like Ronaldo, who are playing with their team, and they are disciplined. And if you are like a player, you have, and you are in the group, you have to follow the discipline of the group. That one is not something that is that will be discussed, or they will beg someone to be disciplined in the group. If you are doing things that will not help the group, then you have to be put aside. And if your coach is someone who is very strong, he will even prefer, even though he knows that you have the talent, you can help him to win a game, he will prefer to even go with weaker players than to go with you, the strong player that is not disciplined. So once again, I'll put it right. I don't know the real problem. I heard things, but for me, it is rumors. So I don't know the real facts. So I cannot go into what happened or if it was enough for him to be evicted. But what I have to say is that if you do things that will not help the group, you have to be put aside. And it's very important, because the same players, when you see them in their class, they are very disciplined. They don't play the stars. They don't disturb anyone. They are very disciplined, very wise. But when they come with national teams, sometimes you are not able to even recognize them. Now, what I have to say is that I really hope that the decision was made by Rigobert Song, because if it is Samuel Eto'o who pushed Rigobert Song to take that decision, because we also know that Samuel Eto'o, he has a very great influence in that team. I mean, when you look at the news from Cameroonian, the Unbeatable Lions, the news from the Cameroonian team, you see in the center of almost everything Rigobert Song. So if Samuel Eto'o, but if he is the one who pushed Rigobert Song to take the decision, it's not good, because it means that Rigobert Song himself is not able to take certain high decisions. Meanwhile, as a coach, he should be able to take decisions. And if ever tomorrow another player that maybe Samuel Eto'o likes does the same thing, Rigobert Song will not be able to take the same decision as he took for Andre Onana, which will be very, very some way for him to punish a player and not punish another one.
Thank you. Right, and Max, you are a custodian of Future Lions, Future Teranga Lions. You mentor young players, you bring them up, and you try to imbibe in them a lot more than football talent. How much of the complete package does education come into it, so that players will be as disciplined as they are in their club side as they will be in the national team? What measures is best to take as coaches, as mentors, as custodians of these youngsters, so that when they grow up, they don't grow up and develop into being prima donnas that don't do what they're supposed to do?
Yes, that
You talking to me?
That was for Max.
Okay, thank you very much, Tunde. Yes, as you know, football is an education. They will be telling you in the 4-4-2 football. It's all about education. What football is teaching you is teaching you the four defending, which is mean you have to defend your family. What is your family? Is your house, the post, the goalkeeper. So from the young age life, we're teaching you as a defender, you have to protect your family, your house, which is the goals. Don't concede anything. As a midfielder, what they're teaching the young players is we're teaching them how to share, how to give through ball on the side, cross ball, what to get the goals. And then what we teach in the striker is to get the goals, to get the aim of what's gonna make the whole nation happy. And all that is education. I can see in our African association, we're saying 11-11. 11-11-11-11. No, I don't think so. Because 11-11, yeah, you can bring 11 players. But if the other 11 players does not have any education, does not understanding the concept of what the coach are giving them, or even the president of the federation are giving them. They are 11 persons, but they're not 11. So that's why they say 11-11 is not 11-11. That happened to Cameroon today. What happened? Sorry, I just going to go out of the question that you're asking. What happened to Cameroon is, I heard Aliou Cissé said when Senegal was beating France in 2002 in the World Cup, they played the game before the match, like the night before. They were playing the game, like they already been somewhere, talk about discipline, talk about how they're gonna win the game to France in the next days. But today, as you see in what's happening to Onana, the Cameroon was receiving goals somewhere by leaving their best player away before the game today. That's why they're causing game. I think young players need to listen to their coach, listen to what they're telling them, which is very difficult because this leads to poverty, it leads to the education, it leads to a lot of fact that the African teachers have to give to the young players, which is what we're doing. What we do is like we try to take those young players and tell and teach them, or let them know where they come from, what they have to bring in Africa. what is their aim, why they are in this world. I think that's make a big impact of the football industry. That what I know about the young players. They just listen what they're telling them, and this will help them to achieve whatever they want in their dreams.
Okay. Now, we seem to be, it's a very interesting episode today because there's so much to cover. We've covered quite a bit, but we are running out of time. We won't be able to cover that much more, other than I'm going to go around and ask you. We've got one round of games to play from each country from Africa. We've got Ghana needs to play Uruguay. We've got Ecuador has to play against Senegal. We've got Morocco has to play Canada. We've got Tunisia having to play France. And who have I left out? We've got Cameroon against Brazil. Who's going home? Who is going back to Africa? Max, Ecuador is no pushover. Very briefly and very quickly, tell me what you think. Senegal, Ecuador.
Senegal, of course.
Is that your
it's going to be a very tough game. Ecuador is very physical teams, and but I think Senegal going to make it.
Francis, Senegal, Ecuador. I won't mind Max because Max is talking with his heart. So you're on mute, Matt. Francis. Francis, mute.
I'm gonna back Max 100%. Senegal against Netherlands, they should have at least got a point, and they proved themselves the next game. I'm 100% behind Senegal. If you want me to, can I give you all mine staying and going? Ghana, Senegal, Morocco staying, Tunisia, Cameroon going home.
Oh, Milan, Cameroon, Brazil. Well, I mean, you even say it and you don't say it with a lot of gusto. Milan, what do you think?
I'm hoping Brazil win today, so maybe they can take it a little bit easy on Cameroon. So that's what I hope for. But I think Brazil are huge favorites for that game. Huge favorites for that game. The attack is impeccable. I don't see Cameroon even getting the points. But my prayer is that Brazil will win today, and then they will take it easy on Cameroon. Maybe that will give Cameroon a chance.
Now, Victor, a bit of uncharted territory for Morocco. Morocco has not played Canada in quite a while, if ever. And this is a round of 16 game. It is a final. Morocco-Canada, for goodness sake.
For me, every African team, which is now third of his group, can still be qualified. At least third. So I think Morocco can beat Canada easily.
Easily?
Yes.
Okay. This is interesting. Now, the repeat of the semi-final, the repeat of the quarter-final of the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. I'm going to spend 1 minute talking about it because that was a game I can't remember. I lost my voice. I was in the stadium watching that game in South Africa 12 years ago, Ghana against Uruguay. Until this day, I never was able to forgive Luis Suarez. Now, there's Ghana-Uruguay coming up, and that is a decider for who goes through today. Bruno.
Oh, well, I think that's going to be an interesting and even historic game because Ghana is going to play the game not just for qualifying for the next round, but because of what happened in 2010, like you said. So it's going to be a very particular game that no one here should miss. And I think for me, for the 5 representative, I think that Ghana and Morocco will stay, Senegal, Tunisia, Senegal, Tunisia
Morocco.
are coming home, but Morocco and Ghana will stay. Senegal, I'm not too sure of Senegal, because when you look at the game against Netherlands and the games against Qatar, Senegal is not a reactive team, and it's very important when you play football, and you have to be either active or reactive. And Senegal has not shown much in terms of a character of to react. Like today, we saw how Ghana reacted. Ghana acted because they scored 2 goals, and when they were caught for the 2-2, they reacted and scored the 3rd goal. We didn't get that from Senegal during this World Cup. We saw it with Cameroon today, 1-0, then 1-1, 2-1. Serbia came and passed them, but they reacted in the end, 3-3. So I didn't see that from Senegal, that character of to react, and it's very important when they are going to play against Ecuador. They have to react, and I didn't see that. So may I see more Ghana and Morocco staying, Senegal, Cameroon, and Tunisia home.
I think that Senegal have not been put in a position where they need to react. When they need to react, I think they probably will. Nina, do you agree with me? Senegal.
Yes, because when you consider, I will go say yes. Sorry, Bruno. I think the match against the Netherlands, they considered the goal in the dying stages. So I think there was not really enough time.
Why? I won't cut you. Why are you saying that they were not put in a position where they couldn't react against Netherlands? It's true that they conceded a goal at the end of the game, but didn't you see that the players from Netherlands were able to score a 2nd goal, which means that Senegal had have time to react, but they didn't react, and Netherlands got time, even though we are saying it was at the end of the time of the game. Netherlands got time to score the 2nd goal, which means that there was a place for Senegal to react, but they didn't.
Sorry, Bruno. You are absolutely correct. In terms of the normal idea of time, of course, there's a possibility for them to equalize and score. We've seen it before.
Yeah.
Team scored 91, another team scored 92. Understand? But why it's unusual? On that reason is from a tactical point of view. If I'm a football coach, I score you in the 90-something minute, 91st minute, I'm going to be solid at the back. And you in your attempt to react, like you said, you're going to load bodies forward, which makes it easier for the team that's actually defending to score a goal. You know what I'm saying? In most football games, the team that is defending in the dying stages is one that actually scores. Because one error, when you put your bodies forward, one error in possession and a counter attack, and you have considered a goal, which is something similar to what happened against Holland. You understand what I'm saying? So when it got scored, Senegal wanted to actually push. I saw it in their they were pushing, trying to get the goal. They poured bodies in front, and then a counter attack, and they considered the 2nd goal. That's what happened. So I think if they concede and they get the time, and don't forget the Dutch are a quality team. If they concede early and they get the time to get the act together and push for a 2nd, maybe they will get the 2nd. So I'm not saying they are good. They have a good character or a bad character. I'm not too sure of that. I don't know anything about their character in terms of that situation. But honestly, I agree with Mr. Tunde here. They are yet to have the opportunity to maybe show that they have character or not.
All right. Well, I mean, this is all we have time for, unfortunately. We will be back again in a couple of days. We will preview those 3rd games and look at what exactly it means to us in Africa, as coaches, as scouts, and as African fans. Now, it's been wonderful. It's been great to be talking to a cross-section of people from across the continent. It's great. Thank you so much for watching. If you've been watching us, like I said to you, Africa deserves to be mentioned as a unified nation, as a unified entity that will be attacking global tournaments with vigor. Let's support one another because we know that it is us against them. There's no two ways about it. And we're going to do our part as AFCON, the African Football Scouts and Coaches Association, which we are using to gain integrity and respect and credibility for the job of scouts and coaches in Africa. There's on the bottom of your screen, join that debate. How many teams from Africa will make it to the knockout stages? Do you agree with Francis, with Matt, with Bruno, with me? And I've not given you my view yet. You'll find my view in the comment section if you look long and hard. I'm not going to tell you at the moment. And with Niran, I want to say thank you very much. Thank you. Last words for everybody. Thank you very much. Starting from Matt, just a very brief last word from you.
Well, thank you very much indeed for the invitation. This is what we have to do. Africa have to rise up. We have our place there in the world. In football, Africa have to be ready and then make the better things in the world of football industry. Thank you very much for the opportunity. You're asking everyone to come and join our association and make the African country better. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Victor. Last word.
Thank you guys for everything. I'm also happy to see Bruno that I know very well. And thank you for the invitation and for this opportunity to discuss with all those great experts of African football. Thank you.
And Bruno, very briefly.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It was a great pleasure and an honor for me to be here. Thank you. It was a great show, and I really, really liked it. I'm looking forward to being invited again.
Thank you. And Francis, as usual. You're on mute.
It's been a great show, and I'd just like to see, one day someone from our association, the coaching staff, will be coaching one of the national teams.
It will happen. I promise you it will happen at some point soon. I want to say thank you very much to everyone who has watched us here, for everyone who has been a part of it. And we're not going away. We're not going away anytime soon. And I'm going to pass the final word to my able director, someone that I am in great appreciation of for the work that he has put together and to make this happen. Niran, close it up for us, please.
Thank you, everybody, for coming on the show. Once again, this is our fourth episode already. Well, we just started about a week just before the World Cup, fourth episode, and so we're hoping to grow the association, grow the YouTube page, and get more coaches around discussing. And actually, when I run shows like this, they always comment in the comment section as the show is going on. Unfortunately, we're not unable to have any so far. So going forward, hopefully, we can get more viewers and more people on the show so that we can be discussing comments as they are going on. So I want to implore everybody, please subscribe and like these pictures. Also share, invite your football lobby people to watch the video. Any coach you know out there to watch, subscribe and like. So want to say thank you from everybody. Thank you for coming on the show. Until we meet again, have a lovely footballing time.
Thank you. Let's go watch the next game, shall we?
Yes.